Right then, Premiership semi-finals. I'm not going to hang about because the game is only a few hours between Northampton and Saracens, but we now also have the Bath and Sale Sharks teams. So I'm going to run through both lineups, see how that changes my perspective on the match, where this game's going to be won and lost. And in each case, I've got a combined 23-man squad. If you took both sides, squished them together, which 23 players would you pick? And what does that tell us about the balance of power going into these matches? Let's start with Northampton Saints then. Franklin's Gardens, and yeah, absolutely box office matchup. I talked about it on the previous video between Courtney Lawes and Owen Farrell. And I'm going to say, I was at Courtney Lawes' house earlier this week, and the first little part of the interview is up. If you want to know what Courtney Lawes really thinks about Owen Farrell, go to my new channel that I'm launching with a few other people that love their French rugby, FRUK Rugby. I'll leave a link in the description. The first part of the Courtney Lawes interview is up there, and he says exactly what he thinks about Faz. As for Northampton Saints, look at the back row. Courtney Lawes, Tom Pearson, Joano Augustus. That is beefy. That back row can bang. And then when you've got Lewis Ludlam coming off the bench, it's a scary proposition. For all the talk about the slick attack, and Northampton absolutely have that, they have got a fearsome pack. And yeah, I mean, the two packs that are going up against each other, I just think Northampton Saints are going to have the edge there. In the front five as well, and that's prop is one of the areas where Saracens have been weak this year, relatively speaking. Still a good team, but yeah, set piece. I think Northampton could do some damage there, which is what really matters when you come into these big money matches. Everything tightens up. We saw this in the Champions Cup final last weekend. It all gets a bit tighter and small moments become very big moments. So one scrum penalty can make a massive difference. And I actually think that is where Northampton, we could be reflecting on this match. That's where they win it. For all the brilliant attacking play, and I hope we see plenty of that, I think they're going to mix it up in the pack. And that's absolutely going to be the difference. In the back line, Berger Odendahl gets the start at 13. Besides that, it's pretty much the automatic selection in the back line. Furbank's there, Dingwall's there, Slightholme, Freeman, Mitchell, Smith, looking very good. And they're up against a Saracens team led by Owen Farrell. Will it be his last game in English domestic rugby for the only club he's ever known? We will see. But it's not just him, it's Mako Vunipola, Billy Vunipola. There's a few guys that are going to be taking their final bow for Saracens. If they lose, they'll want to take it to the final week and make some more memories at Twickenham. Interesting, this is a very rare occasion where you do not see Alex Goode in a knockout match for Saracens. He's been an ever-present over the years, not in the 23-man squad, because Alex Lazowski is back and available and he takes his place on the bench. That could be a big boost going into the knockouts. And Alex Goode not selected in the starting 15. When I look at their pack, yeah, I mean, it's good players when you look at them on paper, all internationals, but they just have seemed vulnerable at set-piece time. Can Mako Vunipola and Marco Riccioni, can they put that right? That's a big challenge for them. Nick Ezekwe selected in the second row. It's a really good back row. Tom Willis, it's the bench that jumps out to me with Saracens. When you look at Theo Dan, Theo McFarland, Hugh Tizard and Tom Willis on the bench, that could be significant. I think Saracens' route to victory is the boot of Owen Farrell and staying in the game, just staying in the fight and maybe having enough to come off the bench to make a difference. Interesting that Northampton and Saracens, in fact, every single team in the semi-finals this week has gone for a 6-2 split. And that could be one of the things we're talking about, which that's a banana skin for someone. Imagine if Toulouse last week had a 6-2 split. Two centres get injured and they'd have been in massive trouble. They were able to manage it because they went 5-3. But 6-2 all across the park, what impact could that make? My combined team then, tell me what you think about this. And as you'll see, it's largely Northampton Saints. 4-4 in the pack. And for all the talk of saying I think Northampton might have the edge in the front row, actually I've gone for two England and Saracens players over their Northampton counterparts, which tells you everything about it's all about the unit working together rather than individuals. On an individual level, in the front five, you could argue Saracens have got the edge. That back row for Northampton, I think, is going to be massive for them. And the back line, they've absolutely got the edge over their Saracens opponents. How much can Owen Farrell do? The bench, I do think Saracens have got impact. I just see this going Saints' way. I'm going to say Northampton by 6. Yeah, there we go. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up. Help me spread the word as we move on to Bath and Sale, the game tomorrow afternoon. And for Bath, their selection is, well, pretty much as you'd expect. The headlines here are Alfie Barbary starts. He was on the bench in the last game. So that back row of Ted Hill, Sam Underhill and Alfie Barbary, that's pretty nice. Another 6-2 split for them. And yeah, that front row is pretty fearsome, isn't it? Benno Urbano and Thomas du Toit have been absolutely brilliant this season. I hope Benno Urbano gets selected for England, travels to Japan and New Zealand. Thomas du Toit, I fully expect to see him back in the fold with South Africa. As for the back line, it's kind of as you were. What's his name? De Glanville. Tom de Glanville is back in training, not needed. Matt Gallagher selected at fullback. Other than that, pretty much first choice team for Bath, and with Spencer and Russell at halfbacks and the home crowd, which they've been desperate for days like this again. They've got a knockout match at the Rec. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere. They're up against Sale Sharks, who are missing some big players. No Manu Tuolangi. Manu Tuolangi and getting injured before a big game. Name a more iconic duo. And Luke Cowan-Dickey, that's a big one. Tommy Taylor starting at hooker. Still no Dan Dupree, he's been away for a while. So you've got some real big Sale Sharks firepower. Will Manu Tuolangi get a final game for Sale, or has he already played it? I want to know what's going on there, because he came off all smiles and it seemed like it was a tactical substitution. He wasn't injured, so I'll look to get to the bottom of what's going on there. But positive news for Sale Sharks, Tom Curry is back and he's on the bench in a 6-2 split. Rob Dupree and Sam James, that midfield axis is going to be really important, and well, we'll see what they can do. As for a combined team, it's just as you look at it at a glance, Bath have got the edge. Front five, back row. I mean, there's a lot of these selections where I could have quite easily had one or the other. And fine example of that, Ted Hill, love him. Ben Curry's been playing brilliantly, so I went with Ben Curry as the nod. Same, Alfie Barbary, I've gone with Jean-Luc Dupree. It's the same. Hey, might be a controversial selection. Tell me what you think about George Ford at fly half. I sat and thought about this one for a few minutes. I stared at my computer screen and I thought about changing it. And I was like, right, if I was the coach and I had to pick George Ford or Finn Russell for a knockout match, who would I go with? And ordinarily, any other week, right, you can choose Finn Russell or you can choose George Ford. Probably go Finn Russell. But it's adding that element of a knockout match. Now, Finn Russell is an outstanding player. He's played in big, big matches. But how many big, big matches, when there's a trophy on the line, has Finn Russell played in and won? George Ford has done both. When he was a youngster for Leicester, he did it. He's done it in big England matches. Think of those drop goals against Argentina in the World Cup. Yeah, I went for George Ford. I don't know. Am I right there? Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments. What would you do? It's a tough call, isn't it? And like I say, so many of these selections, the wings was the same. Will Muir, be perfectly happy with him. And Tom O'Flaherty, brilliant winger. But I've gone for Roebuck and fucking a singer. Joe Carpenter at fullback. I think it's much like Saracens at Northampton. Sale's route to winning this is keeping it tight. The 10 tactically kicking brilliantly and trying to be in touch with 20 minutes to go when you've got guys like Rafi Quirk, Tom Curry, Ernst van Rijn who can come off the bench and maybe add a bit of impetus. I actually think both matches, that's the route to victory. I think that the favourites will be a home win in both cases. I think I give Sale more of a chance of winning than I give Saracens. And I'm going to stick with my prediction from the other day. Now I've seen the teams. Although Manu Tuolangi and Luke Cowan-Dickey, that's big. But I just don't know. I just got this feeling about Sale. The way they've been arriving into the playoffs, coming through under the radar and then into form. and they've got something, and everybody seems to have written them off, and they'll use that as firepower. I'm going to stick with my prediction, Northampton against Sale in the final. There you go. There's my thoughts. Stuck my colours to the mast. What do you think? Comments down below. Hit subscribe. Enjoy the rugby. Keep checking back on the channel for the reviews to the matches across the weekend, and I'll see you on the next one.